and contributory support for vulnerable Kenyans in all stages of life, ensuring dignity, equity, and resilience, and coordinated by the national government and counties. Well, it looks like that video has decided it's not going to do any term, not even one term. Now, the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, is proposing a ban on the sale of alcohol online in supermarkets, residential premises and areas, restaurants and basic education, tertiary, as well as higher learning institutions. This is part of sweeping new measures allowing the national policy to combat alcohol, drug and substance abuse released early this week. All right, you know what? Let's take a short break. Let's sort out the picture issue and then we come back. Sindio? Sawa. All right, we're going to go back to the first story so that I can play you the video where President William Ruto basically said that the enactment of a law on conflict of interest is a bold step in the war against corruption, setting clear rules that ensure public officers serve with integrity, transparency, and accountability. By anchoring enforcement of the law under the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Ruto says Kenya is strengthening institutions and restoring trust in public service. He spoke while assenting to the Conflict of Interest Bill 2023 and the Social Protection Bill 2025 at State House, Nairobi. On his part, the Social Protection Bill creates a unified rights-based framework that guarantees non-contributory support for vulnerable Kenyans in all stages of life, ensuring dignity, equity, and resilience, and coordinated by the national government and the counties.
So in terms of housekeeping,
this is a very momentous occasion for Kenya, that after the passage of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Law several years ago, today we are stepping up the fight against corruption by passing the Conflict of Interest Law that now gives power to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption to take charge of matters, wealth declaration for all public officers, now not just in the executive, but also in the legislature and in the judiciary, to also make it illegal for officers serving in positions, whether they are in the judiciary, the legislature, or in the executive, to abuse the authority they have in their offices and to undermine the rule of law and abuse the resources that the people of Kenya have put together, and make sure that every resource, every coin, every cent, every shilling that is paid as taxes by the people of Kenya or in any other manner is used only for the intended purpose, and that no such resources find their way into private pockets or private enterprises. And that is why this is a very consequential moment in Kenya, that we are stepping up the use of public resources in the right manner and making it that much more difficult for people to take advantage of the offices they occupy.
You know, during this function, I heard a prayer that was done by Bishop Oginde, and it was, oh my goodness, it's one of those prayers people pray and you think, wow, that's amazing. I mean, some of the things he was asking the Lord to do, well, if the Lord answers his prayer, quite a number of people are going to find themselves in a lot of trouble, And I believe he's going to answer that prayer. Some people will find themselves where they didn't expect. Now, the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA, is proposing a ban on the sale of alcohol online in supermarkets, residential premises and areas, restaurants, and basic education, tertiary, as well as higher learning institutions. This is part of sweeping new measures outlined in a national policy to combat alcohol, drug, and substance abuse, released by the Ministry of Interior, targeting aggressive marketing strategies, which the authority says normalize alcohol use. The proposed regulations outlaw price promotions such as discounts, free samples, flat rate offers, as well as volume sales common in bars, supermarkets, and online retailers.
So in terms of housekeeping, a bit of your press.
As we launch this policy, I urge everyone present and indeed all Kenyans to embrace its tenets and become active champions in this vital campaign. Let us leverage the power of our communities, our cultural values, and our collective will to protect our present and secure.
I will be engaging the Asset Recovery Agency to see how best we can also make it more punitive, first of all, for those who are engaged in these acts, especially because they get very lenient fines. So maybe the best way is to take away the lorry, the car, the equipment, their businesses, their assets that they are built over time. It's important for asset recovery to appreciate that the law on the proceeds of crimes and anti-money laundering law is not only focusing on corruption. It also focuses on all crimes. We are going to sack people. We have started sacking them, and they will go to court. Any chief, any police officer, any OCS whose jurisdiction is a drug haven will be dealt with according to the law. They will not be transferred. They will be removed from service. Those who are committing these acts will also be prosecuted accordingly.
The first one is the rising of the legal age from 18 to 21. The second is the banning of alcohol ads in the TV. We want our children to learn ABC and not SDU, which is substance use disorder. Banning these ads during prime time. We also want them to mandate them to put.
Well, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has assured Kenyans that the government has no plans to cut funding for free primary and secondary education, promising enhanced financing for the critical center. Professor Kindiki said that Kenya Kwanza administration will not roll back gains made in the sector, noting the increased funding allocated to the sector and recruitment of a record number of teachers since President William Ruto came to power in 2022.
Yesterday, teachers were expecting to smile all the way to the bank so that...
Rais aliongea Sunday, mimi mwenyewe niliongea Sunday, na nikasema ya kwamba hatuwezi kukubali ati ile maneno tumepiga hatua mbele, mambo ya elimu ya bure irudi nyuma tena, na tutahakikisha shule zetu zote zitapata capitation ambayo inahitajika, ambayo ni 22,000 shillings. Every school will get its capitation. Na serikali huwezi cheza na masomo, kwa sababu tukicheza na masomo hapo ndio tu tamu italeta shida. Ama namna gani? Ama namna gani? Kwa hivyo sisi nataka niwahakikishie kwamba watoto wetu watasoma, na there is no problem. We'll make sure that schools get adequate capitation.
Well, I'm glad that they have affirmed that there's not going to be any reduction, or they're not going to stop financing the free education that was started by President Mwai Kibaki, the late. Now, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, is under fire from its members following complaints of unauthorized and unjustifiable deductions from their July salaries. The teachers across the country have expressed outrage over a deduction labeled Swal KUPPET Union, which appeared on their payslips without prior communication or consent. In a letter addressed to KUPPET national leadership, the West Pokot branch described the deductions as a betrayal, especially at a time when teachers are grappling with harsh economic realities.
Yesterday, teachers were expecting to smile all the way to the bank, so that because of the CBA increment. Unfortunately, as we are talking right now, there is a new deduction called KUPPET Swal on the pay slips of teachers. The union deduction is supposed to be 1.8% of the basic pay. This extra payment that is on the extra deduction that is on the teachers' pay slips right now is illegal. It is not supposed to be there. So we are here to say that teachers are stressed, they are perturbed, they are confused, they cannot even think, they cannot breathe.
Telling the national office that we want that deduction to be stopped with immediate effect and the teachers to be refunded back their money. We are crying as teachers. If you look at the teachers' payslip, it has really been deducted. It is very slim. Matter we have the SHA, we have the SHIV, we have the what do we call? We have the Swal of KUPPET. Now we don't even understand.
The teachers are stressed. The teachers are distressed. The teachers, they cannot settle because the people who are supposed to protect their pay slips, now because that thing is reading Swal KUPPET, it is like KUPPET has taken the money from its members, and yet they went and bargained for the CBA. So it makes no sense when we see that there is a deduction which is reading Swal KUPPET.
Now, the question that crops into my mind is it that branch only that was deducted the amounts? Because if it was nationwide, we would see quite a number of teachers complaining. Now, members of the Isiolo County Assembly have raised alarm over the gazetting of a Kenya shilling 7 billion budget, terming it illegal and unconstitutional. The lawmakers claim they were completely excluded from the 2025-2026 budget process and are now urging the national government and the Senate to intervene in what they describe as a crisis in the county governance. According to the MCAs, the controversial budget was pushed through by the County Assembly Clerk Salad Boru without the input or approval of elected members. They also accused the clerk of unlawfully gazetting the speaker who was not elected by the House.
Budget ya 7 billion. Hiyo ni ukora ya hali ya juu. Ambazo tumesema serikali kuu Hao watu wamefanya Kenya kama Republican bananas country. Na kama hii itaendelea, hatutakuwa na nchi. Sheria isipopatika Isiolo haitafanyika. Hakuna nchi ambayo tuko nayo. Kwa sababu kama hii kitu kitafanyika Isiolo, hata hizo county zingine zitaendelea kufanya hivyo. Sababu governor anapokosana na MCS ama akitaka kufanya kitu, anapita njia shortcut. Si kitu itaendelea.
Kuna mikakati na sheria ambayo inaongoza namna ambavyo bajeti inapaswa kupitishwa. Ya kwanza, bajeti upande ya gavana na watu wake wanapaswa kutengeneza makadirio. Na baada ya kutengeneza makadirio ndio wanaleta katika bunge. Na wakileta katika bunge, kamati ambayo inashughulika na mambo ya bajeti katika bunge inapaswa kulete bajeti kwa nyumba ama ndani ya bunge na kuwasilisha katika bunge ili iwe rasilimali ya bunge.
Tulisikia mambo ya budget ambayo imepelekwa mpaka kwa Kenyan Gazette, ambaye ni budget haijafuata process. Wale walikuwa naye ni watu wawili tu, watatu walikaa. Hata MCS wale wawili mheshimiwa anasema wako kwa sababu kuna siku niliona wakati tuko recess, niliona watu wawili wakiingia katika mbunge.
Na ule mmoja kutoka nje, nataka kuambia kwamba staff wetu wasichukue any command from Salad. You should not take any command from Salad. Salad kulingana ile kitu amefanya, vile anafanyia executive kazi badala ya kufanyia assembly. Sisi kama wale ambao tunafanyiwa kazi tumesema ya kwamba nyinyi kama staff wetu wale wengine, mtu yoyote asichukue amri yoyote kwa Salad Boru Guracha.
Okey-dokes. Now, Bungoma Senator Wafula Wakoli has called for an official report in the Senate asking relevant committees such as Finance and Budget to provide clarification on how Bungoma County spent the Equalization Fund allocation for the 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024 financial years. Senator Wakoli is demanding accountability and transparency in the use of these vital funds intended to uplift marginalized areas.
Sir, on the utilization of money from the Equalization Fund in Bungoma County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the matter of county-wide concern regarding the utilization of the Equalization Fund in Bungoma County in the 2021-2022, 2022-2023, 2023-2024, and 2024-2025 financial year. In the statement, the committee should address the following: whether the allocations for the marginalized areas in Bungoma County from the Equalization Fund in the year 2021-2022, 22-23, 23-23, and 24-25 financial years were fully absorbed and strictly utilized to provide basic services in the water, road, health, electricity, and education sectors. 2, the identification process of all implemented projects, including whether each project was identified through proper needs assessment and community engagements in the targeted area, and if so, obtain documents for the same. 3, the measures in place to prevent duplication or double funding of projects by the county government of Bungoma and the national government, and whether the implemented projects were integrated into the county government of Bungoma annual development plan and the county integrated development plan CIDP. 4, whether the selection of contractors and suppliers of goods and services for all the implemented projects complied with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. 5, the status of implementation of the projects, including details on whether each completed program was implemented within the original timelines and budget and attained its intended objectives, whether each ongoing project is on course for completion within the original timelines, as well as the steps being taken to revive and complete all stalled or abandoned projects. Senator David Wakoli, MP, Senator for Bungoma County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. By the county government of Bungoma and the national government, and whether the implemented projects were integrated into the county government of Bungoma annual development plan and the county integrated development plan CIDP. 4. Whether the selection of contractors and suppliers of goods and services for all the implemented projects complied with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. 5. The status of implementation of the projects, including details on whether each completed program was implemented within the original timelines and budget and attained its intended objectives. Whether each ongoing project is on course for completion within the original timeline.
By the way, yesterday, there's a story that's been trending, and rightly so. There's some officers, former military officers, retired, who had formed a squad. They were calling themselves, it's like military men against police brutality. And they were showing themselves online, holding firearms. And one of them, I guess their leader, was yesterday arraigned. I guess things are not going to go very well for him. And it brings together a couple of, officers, some of them not even from the country. And very concerning, I must say. Now, President William Ruto has affirmed that Kenya will continue to uphold its strong bilateral ties with Uganda after signing 8 memorandum of understanding with its Ugandan counterpart, Yoweri Museveni. Speaking at the State House, Nairobi, President Ruto maintained that Kenya and Uganda are focused on enhancing their partnership to bolster their socio-economic affairs. The two presidents inked MOUs to strengthen partnership on mining, transport, quality assurance, agriculture, fisheries, urban development, tourism, and trade. President Ruto intimated on the plan to commence on the urban development of the Greater Busia Metro project that will be undertaken between this year and 2028. This will entail building infrastructure in Busia and expanding the market since it's shared between the Kenya and Uganda countries. The two nations will also focus on having joint mineral exploitation avenues to address cross-border smuggling.
Countries in Southeast Asia, big and small, Vietnam, China, Indonesia, Cambodia, all of them have got access to the sea. Wako karibu na bahari. Here, where the continent is fragmented economically, you have got countries like Uganda, Republic of Uganda, has no access to the ocean.
This occasion reflects the strength and historical partnership between our two nations, anchored in common ideals, deep respect, and shared ambition for regional stability and progress. Kenya and Uganda are joined together not only by geographical proximity, but also by a long-standing spirit of brotherhood and mutual support within the East African community. My deliberations with President Museveni spanned an extensive range of bilateral, regional, and continental priorities. We reaffirmed our united stance on closer collaboration in key sectors,
such as infrastructure, trade, energy, security, and regional integration.
Yeah, the trade between... The country that baffles me is TZ. I mean, what's wrong with Tanzania? I mean, the other day, President Suluhu basically cancelled out some of the jobs that foreigners should not do in TZ. And somewhat she forgets that Tanzanians are doing the same kind of jobs in other countries. If we decided that no one is going to sell mitumba in Kenya, can you imagine what would happen to TZ residents who are living in our country? There are quite a number of them in Kikomba, so many. If we decided that you're not allowed to beg if you're from TZ, what would happen? Because the majority of the beggars in Kenya are from Tanzania. And I'm saying this, it's true, right? I mean, before you throw a stone while living, you should not, they say you should not throw a stone if you live in a glass house. There are so many of Tanzanians who are benefiting here. So if we decided we were going to reciprocate what she's doing, then I guess it's her country that would suffer. Because I know, actually there was a demonstration yesterday in Uganda with Ugandans protesting what the Tanzanian president has done, because some of the Ugandans are doing basically the kind of trade that she says cannot be done by foreigners in that country. If we decided, and we just, you know, copy-pasted what she has outlawed for foreigners in their country, and we copy-pasted it here, we would see so many people out. Because take, for instance, salons and barbers in our country currently manned by mostly Burundian, Rwandan, and DRC, people from the DRC. So that would mean they go out. Selling of tea is Burundians in the streets. They would go out. So, but Tanzania is special. I mean, when the rest of the world is going west, they always go east. They're just a special people. They don't like Kenyans, by the way, because I guess they are more concerned. They fear that if Kenyans get into their country and are allowed to have their way, we would literally take over everything there. Literally everything. So I kind of understand why they don't like us that much. Now, that doesn't bother us, does it? We just continue doing our things. We dominate because we are called to dominate. We just be Kenyans. Now, a group of university student leaders is calling for urgent action from the Ministry of Education of our growing crisis in the sector. They want accountability for education funds, resolution of help delays, and support for students set to join in September. They also demand reforms in help, teacher promotions, and a review of the current funding model. The leaders are pushing for a student-led dialogue with education stakeholders to restore trust and sustainability in higher learning.
A short-term student relief option, tuition waivers, and hardship funds in response to this year's funding paralysis. We've heard from the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance that they are currently experiencing problems with the financing of the students that are supposed to be joining in September. We are here to call on the government that we need to find a solution between now and the time that the new students will be joining in September.
We are students in this country, we are citizens of this country, and also we are the leaders of tomorrow. So we need these leaders to step up and do their work. And their work is making sure that if the students have been given the liberty by this country to go to school, let them be at par and make sure that all of us are getting equal measure of the same education by disbursing funds that are required by the students.
All right, let's take a look at what the dailies are saying. By the way, nasikia, is this normal? Nasikia sahi asubuhi, sahi. Now, I'm feeling hungry. Eish, ati? Hey, I'm literally feeling hungry. Yes. Hungry. Njaa, nasikia njaa. Anyway, wacha tuangalie magazeti and pray for me so that by the end of this sitakuwa nimekula hizi magazeti. Daily Nation, approve of new alcohol rules. Why are they protesting? Let the new rules take place. Let me tell you, if there is anything that has destroyed so many youth in this country, it's alcohol. I'm telling you, it's a pandemic. Almost no family in the country has been left untouched by alcohol abuse. It's a pandemic. So anything that, tries to deal with that, I support. And NACADA policy detailing tough rules, including banning the sale of alcohol in supermarkets and consumption in restaurants, has drawn furious reactions from industry players who want implementation would ruin businesses, force government revenues to plummet, and occasion job losses. Kamoenu amsewa kamswot was. Read this and see what you're not allowed to do. Kenya formally files objection to Tanzania trade restrictions amid increasing diplomatic tension. This is what we were talking about. It's good. Kenya has formally objected to Tanzania's new business licensing rules and tax measures, labeling them discriminatory and potentially obstructive to economic integration. In a statement issued yesterday, Kenya's Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry expressed serious concern regarding Tanzania's business license prohibition of business activities for non-citizens, which came into effect on the 28th of July. Trade and industry, let me just read some of the things that you're not allowed to do. Let me see. Okay. I just know, okay, they've not highlighted some of them here. Maybe I'm not seeing them. But one of them is you're not allowed to work in a, if you're a foreigner, you cannot work in a salon, you cannot work in a barber shop, all that kind of stuff. Some crazy stuff, I tell you. So, I get the spirit. They want to protect jobs for their people. But competition, you got to open up the market for competition so that you get the best, right? Learners anxious as state delays varsity loan application results. And then why we have not reviewed the pay and hardship areas, Teacher Service Commission Acting CEO Evelyn Mitei, when she appeared before the National Assembly Implementation Committee yesterday. Then you have the new law bars officials from public tenders. I thought that was already a thing. I thought public officials were not allowed to engage in public tenders. Okay. Division in ODM forces Raila to put pressure on Ruto over deal. And then UDA urges court to strike out Orwoba's ouster petition. And then protest killings put Kenya on the list of shame. Hey, those people are many. Coach McCarthy ready to write history with Harambee Stars. I hope he's ready to write a good history. You know, writing history is something else. You can write a bad history like Hitler, and you can do a good history like Jesus. You know, the rest of the group, boys, DR Congo, Angola, Zambia are expected to jet in today. I might just decide to watch some of this football stuff. I've been criticized a lot by some of the guys in the office that I'm not patriotic. I don't support Kenyan football. I have a good reason not to support it, and but this time, okay. I might just decide to watch the game and see whether it's going to change my perception of the Kenyan football. Used to follow it. I used to follow the Kenyan football. I was a great fan during the All African Games, and you know, when football was being played. But unfortunately, every time we've gone for the Africa Cup of Nations, we've been given 3-3-3. I mean, we've not performed very well. And I'm hoping at least we're going to change that trend. Kaboom! The Star newspaper, alcohol burn plan to strike traders' jobs hard. This is where you're not allowed to sell booze, to sell alcohol. Supermarkets, home deliveries. Najuila tuko nyumbani nasema leta moja. Home deliveries and couriers will not be allowed to carry them. Residential premises and areas. This one I support 100%. If you go to, where is this place? It's Umoja Inako, just at the Mutindwa Junction. Kuna kachuo mkeko hapo, if you go, the pubs there, there are so many. Then you go to Nairobi West, where pubs are more than houses. And then we have, one of the things that is bad is online. You cannot sell alcohol online. If these are passed, you cannot sell it in restaurants, near basic education institutions, tertiary and higher learning, and then public beaches, public parks and amusement parks. Wow. ODM splinter group now plans parallel activities. You have Sifuna, Babu Wino, Caleb Amisi, Wilberforce Oundo, and Anthony Kibagendi. Uganda leader not sure where biblical references he used was found. And Ruto says, I am not a bishop. Ruto lightly corrects Museveni at briefing. Kwani Museveni had called him a bishop? Bishop William Ruto. Bani. That's interesting. And then, so this story at ODM, I think there's a lot of disgruntled people within ODM. And will it implode? No, I don't think so. I think ODM is stronger than that. They won't implode. They might lose quite a number of people, but I don't see it imploding. Then Ruto deals blow to civil servants trading with state in new law. And then tobacco products to display graphic image to curb use. Sorry, you cannot recall leaders just yet, says IEBC. And it dashes hopes. People have been pushing a recall of the Nairobi women rep, Esther Passaris. Then 15 people to testify against police officer charged with killing colleague. Mental health is real, by the way. Mental health is so real. There's the back pay is McCarthy's dilemma. Harambee Stars coach spoiled for choice ahead of CHAN Open against DR Congo. And by the way, despite the fact that DR Congo is not a very stable country, Batoto are very good when it comes to football. They really play nice. They're very good when it comes to football, just like they are in music. I think they've specialized in these two. Handout masters, ten, 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 ten. and the pictures are there. The people who are giving out the most handouts in the country, President William Ruto and his deputy Kithure Kindiki. And they say, and they've broken it down, as schools shut down and hospitals falter, Deputy President Kindiki spearheads a lavish campaign-style handouts drive, dishing out as little as 64 shillings to desperate... Hey, Wane. 64 shillings to desperate villagers while crisscrossing the country in choppers and fueling political patronage. Can you imagine? Break it down. I come in chopper. I land. You come and sing songs of praise of me and say all kind of things. And then when I am leaving, I give you 64 shillings each. That's what the standard is saying has been going on. When you break down the amounts of money that are being given, I remember some woman complaining, a lot on TV, saying, amenipatia 2,000, nipatie sijui watu wangapi. Inakuja down to 64 shillings. Dishing out as little to desperate villagers while crisscrossing the country in choppers. Critics call it cynical ploy to buy loyalty with public funds in a motion on the brink. In a nation on the brink. The decision to kick off early campaigns 2 years before the election reeks of misappropriation and insensitivity. On the other side, in some instances, people have been given 250 shillings. Duale warns of tobacco laced with drugs imported from powers that be. Below 21, no alcohol for you, as state adopts new regulation. The liquor traders have rejected the proposals. They're going to go to court. Eyes on Kindiki as he traverses country dishing out handouts. Kenya, Uganda sign 8 bilateral deals. Cabinet okays task force proposals to regulate churches after Shakahola. So these people need to read, or if they had not read, because it's going to affect you. But the spirit behind it, I guess, was good because they were trying to curb what happened in Shakahola, and it's still happening still. Court told how Mackenzie sped up followers' death. Really? At times, anyway. Ex-KDF officer jailed to 20 years for raping woman at a police station. In fact, I think he's been given years kidogo. Should have been given like 70 or 250. You die, you're buried. When you rise from the dead, you're again taken to continue your term. 20 years ni kidogo. Suluhu's ban on foreign traders rattles EAC, and she's happy. Then the High Court is actually supposed to rule whether Kindiki is legally in office. Yeah, in all honesty, I don't think they can rule otherwise, that he's not. Because if they ruled that he's not, okay, so what happens? Standard back page. Rian Ogam, the man Harambee Stars will be banking on for goals. Well, let's hope. Okay, let me be very positive. I'm also hoping, even though I don't know the guy, I am hoping that he knows how to play football. That's the reason why he's in Harambee Stars. And he's going to score a lot of goals for us. He's going to score a lot of goals for us. I now build my faith in Harambee Stars. That they are going to, they are going to perform well. Sindio? Wacha tuwa support. Mona wacha tuwa support. Sindio? Now for people like Alice who know nothing also about football, and understandably so, Alice is one of those people in the country who play. You know the game of Ajua and Tapo? Those are the games that she's planning to take to the Olympics. So we pray for her. But there's a game called what? That game. Wacha nikumbuke hiyo jina. Kabaddi. I never knew there was a game like that, and then I saw it, Kabaddi. Kabaddi ni kama shake, but now using, I think, a ball. It's a very interesting game. Very interesting. Anyway, I don't know, which game do you play? Alice, what games do you play? If you're wondering which Alice I'm talking about, Alice is our director on the other side of the studio. Which game do you play? Hapana, Kati is not a game. That doesn't qualify as a game. You have to play a game that can be called a game. You know, a game like, badminton. Games zimesoma. Badminton, tennis, kabaddi. See, kati. What is that? Hapana. You got to play good games. Chess. Draft sana sana wanga inachezwa na wase wamekaa kwa hizi makona za estates. Cheza hizo game. Anyway, this is just kidding. As I said, I'm hungry. I want to see whether I can get some tea or coffee from Angela. And remember, last time I said, if Harambee Stars wins, it wins this competition, we are going to read the news with Angela Kitondo. Angela Kitondo is the one who, like now, ameunda kachai kengine, walalala, Mluya akipita hapa nje ya building, anataka kuingia. So, we'll read the news na yeye. Aye. Do have yourself a lovely morning. Remember, today we got Your Faith Today. We got some interesting worship and interviews and the Word of God. And then at around 2 p.m., Manukato comes in, interviews and great talks. All right? Have yourself a good morning.